everyone, it's me, Mrs. Schreiber, and I'm back with today's reading lesson. We are still working on tuning in to new words as we read, and those aren't words that you've never heard or read before. A lot of times these are words that you can figure out when you read, and some of these words you have heard before, but you've never really stopped to think about what they mean. So when we talk about new words, we're talking about words that maybe you don't know the meaning of. All right, that's their definition. So this week we've been learning about a new strategy called using context clues. So I'm going to go over a few things with you again. You might remember this from last week. Let's from the beginning. We're going to look at tuning into new words, strategies for uncovering the meaning of words you read. It's all about the meaning. Remember last week I told you that you're becoming really accurate. That means you can read the words correctly and you can figure out words, how to say words that you've never said before. But we need to start thinking about the meaning, because as you get older and you read, that's really where the focus is going to be. So when you're reading, notice words and think about the meanings as you read them. Then stop and think about words you can read but can't explain to others. This is where we're working right now. This is where your neurons are going to grow and you're going to make the most growth. And then you might need to try several strategies. Last week we talked about the strategy of look around the word. And we said that oftentimes this is helpful in a nonfiction text. Remember, texts that are real or about true things. Often the author will explain those topic-specific words that maybe you don't know the meaning of, but you can read them. And they'll explain it right there in the text. So you need to look carefully at the sentence that the word is used in, the sentence before it, and the sentence after it. This week we've been working on context clues. And before I get into context clues, I want to remind everybody, because I don't think we've been talking about it in our videos, but this is something that all of you boys and girls have known how to do for some time now. Okay, so we have a strategy that you already use a lot in your fiction text, which is great. And it's using photos, diagrams, or illustrations. This can be really helpful in nonfiction texts, because when authors write a book and illustrators collaborate on it with them, they're picking out things that are going to match the text and help you see what the text is telling you. And when you're little, and most of you boys and girls know this, you've been getting information from pictures in your books for years. You can tell how characters are feeling and where they're at. But now that you're getting older, your fiction books are starting to not have so many pictures, especially if you're reading chapter books like most of you are. And eventually, your fiction books aren't going to have any pictures to help you figure out the meanings of words. Your nonfiction books will still have nonfiction text features to help you as you get older. You'll still continue to have photos and diagrams. And for those of you who don't know, a diagram is a picture with labeled parts. I know you know that if you're in my class. And so that's a strategy that we haven't talked about this week, but I just wanted to point out to you. You already know it, so don't forget to use it. So you actually already have two strategies. Look around the word and use photos, diagrams, and illustrations. Today we're going to talk about using context clues. I made it blue because I really wanted it to stand out to you. Context clues means clues that are within the text. So use what's happening in the text and what the author's already told and shown you with the other words in the text to help you uncover the meaning of this word that maybe you're not so sure of. So when we do this, we think some things, and I put it in a little think bubble here for you. We think, what's happening in this part of the text? How is the word being used? And what's a word I already know that would make sense there? Then when we think we have a word that makes sense there, we can reread the sentence and see if what you came up with makes sense. I am going to pull up an article, and we're going to work on that thinking part of using context clues. So, how is the word being used, what's going on, And then what's a word we already know that would make sense there? And then we'll check it. All right. I am going to pull up this article for us today. It's our science spin from April, since we weren't in school together. I know this one's new to you. The cover, we've got this little guy, and it says, "This is a kinkajou. It lives in the rainforest. When it eats fruit, it makes a mess. That's good for the forest." Cute little guy. And then this is what the inside of our text looks like. So I'm pretty sure as we're reading together today, boys and girls, that we are going to find words that we probably don't exactly know the meaning of. And we need to stop and we need to tune into them. So let me zoom in and we can read this. I would love it if you read with me. I miss your little voices and all your wonderful reading. Remember, when we do shared reading and we read together, we're working on our fluency. All right, so here's our headline. That's right. You already started. Here we go. This messy eater drops seeds. When you make a mess with your food, do people tell you to stop? No one stops the kinkajou. That's a good thing. Its messiness helps plants grow. Sounds like this little critter might be important. Let's read our first heading together, or subheading together. Seeds need to travel. The kinkajou lives in the rainforest. The rainforest is a wet, warm habitat with an amazing variety of plants and animals. Whoa, I want to stop. That word habitat is already highlighted, but I'm not sure I know what it means. I've heard it before for sure, and I can read it no problem, but I probably need to tune into it because it's a word that I can't explain to someone else. So I need to think about it. So we have a few strategies we can use. The photographs and nonfiction text features are not helping us here. So photos are out. And I'm reading the sentence before it, the sentence it's in, and the sentence after it to look around the word. But it doesn't look like the author has given me the meaning of it. So I'm going to try that new strategy we're working on, boys and girls, context clues. Remember, we have some thinking we need to do with this one. We need to think about what's happening. So I'm going to do that out loud. I'm remembering that I'm reading about this kinkajou animal that's a really messy eater, but it's important because it helps plants grow. And now I've learned that the kinkajou lives in the rainforest. I already know a little bit about the rainforest. They're not here, that's for sure. And then it says the rainforest is a wet, warm habitat with an amazing variety of plants and animals. So, how is it being used? It's being used as a noun. It sounds like it's a place. The rainforest is a wet, warm, something kind of a place with an amazing variety of plants and animals. So based on what I'm reading here, I think it's a place where plants and animals live. Now, I need to check and see if that makes sense in the sentence. So the rainforest is a wet, warm place where plants and animals live with an amazing variety of plants and animals. I'd say, yeah, a habitat must be a type of place, and probably a place where plants and animals live. I live in a place, Western New York. We've got plants and animals here. I wonder if Western New York has a type of a habitat. It's not a rainforest, I know that, but I'm wondering what kind of habitat is here. I could look that up later. Now that I've tuned into this and I know that habitat is a place where plants and animals live, and it made sense, I can keep reading. So, you know what? There's another word I just realized I read a couple of times really easily, but maybe I don't know the meaning of it. So let's look right here. This word, I've said variety a couple of times. We could use our vocabulary strategies to help us here too. All right. So it says with an amazing variety of plants and animals. I'm going to use our context clue thing because variety is not defined by the author in the text. So looking around the word's not helping me. Photos, diagrams, and illustrations aren't helping me. Context clues. I think what's happening? How is the word being used? What's a word that I know of or a phrase? that would make sense here. So with an amazing variety of plants and animals. Sounds like maybe there's a lot of plants and animals. So maybe variety means lots of something. So we could say the rainforest is a wet, warm habitat with lots of plants and animals. It has hundreds of kinds of fruit trees and their fruit is full of seeds. I would say, since the next one tells us there's hundreds of types of fruit trees, lots makes sense there. So variety must mean lots of types. All right. And that's how you use context clues, boys and girls. So I'm going to read a little bit more and we're going to come to a new word and we're going to stop and we're going to see if you can figure out what it means. This is pretty interesting, this article so far. I want to hear more about the kinkajou, don't you? Those seeds can grow into new trees, but they need to find a new place with plenty of room to grow. That's where the kinkajou's messy eating comes in handy. Snack attack! A kinkajou is sleeping in a hole in a tree. It wakes up. It has a snack attack. It wants fruit and lots of it. It jumps from branch to branch, searching for fruit. When it finds a juicy fruit like a fig or a papaya, it's ready to eat. I'm going to mark this word papaya here. I'm not sure what it means. I read it pretty easily, though. I've got a few strategies I can use. I can use looking around the word when it finds a juicy fruit like a fig or papaya. So I'm guessing that papaya means like a type, it must be a type of fruit. Now, if I could also use our second clue, use photos and diagram, not our clue, but our second strategy. And I can look right here and I see that word over here and I see a picture of it. So there's a photo that helps me understand what a papaya is. So it's definitely a fruit and I can use the picture right there. All right, so I just tuned in to a word that was unfamiliar to me. It travels to a branch of a nearby tree to enjoy its snack alone. Then it tears the fruit open and eats fast. Sounds like my kids. The seeds fall on the ground. Here, the seeds have what they need to grow into new trees. Sometimes the kinkajou does something even messier. I don't want a kinkajou for a pet. It eats upside down. Woo, that would be messy. Can you imagine eating upside down, boys and girls? It wraps its tail around a branch and hangs there as it devours a piece of fruit, dropping the seeds. It's worse than a messy baby in a high chair. Oh yeah, not a good pet for Mrs. Schreiber. I don't like a lot of mess. Not like that, not in my house. All right, I'm noticing though, this word's already highlighted. It was devours. It was easy for us to read, but I'm wondering if you know the meaning. So maybe you already know this word and can define it. Maybe you think you might know it, or maybe that's a totally new word to you. Let me see with your thumbs up, thumbs sideways, or thumbs down where you are with this word devours. Okay, it looks like we have a mixed group out there. I saw a couple thumbs ups, a bunch of sideways, and a few thumbs down. So let's take just a couple seconds. That's all it takes whenever you're tuning into new words, once you train your brain to do it. We've got some strategies we can use. Number one, look around the word. Does the author define the word in any of our sentences? It eats upside down, it wraps its tail around a branch and hangs there as it devours a piece of fruit, dropping the seeds. It's worse than a messy baby in a high chair. I'm going to say no, the author doesn't really tell us what the word devours means. And the photos, they're not really helping me either. But I can use my context clue strategy. I can think, what's going on? It's being a messy eater. That's what's going on. How is the word being used? It's being used as an action word. It hangs there as it devours a piece of fruit. So, okay. And can I think of a word that could take its place that might mean the same thing? I'm guessing that it means, since we're talking about eating, and it talks about babies in a high chair, babies sit in a high chair to eat, and it talked about it's eating upside down. It wraps its tail around a branch and hangs there as it devours a piece of fruit. I'm going to say devours means eat. And maybe it means, I don't know, like it has one of those shades of meaning, like it eats it in like a destroying way, or eats it in a messy way, or eats it in a fast way, or maybe it means it eats the whole thing, but it definitely has something to do with eating. So if you could figure out that it means eat, that's awesome. All right. I'm going to read the rest of this for you just so that you get the whole experience. And because this is a fascinating article. You did a good job with those context clues, boys and girls. Seeds spread other ways. Of course, not all the seeds end up on the ground. The kinkajou swallows some. This helps the rainforest too. Imagine the kinkajou eats a fig from a fig tree. The fig and some of its seeds move through the kinkajou's body. By the time the kinkajou poops, it has traveled far from the fig tree. Oh boy, I hear you laughing. I know, animal poop, it's funny, but it's also important. The seeds in its poop fall to the ground and sink in. Warm rains will water the seeds. A new fig tree can grow far from the first fig tree. That's another way the kinkajou helps more rainforest trees grow. A big player. The kinkajou is very important to the rainforest. Scientists call it a keystone species. That means that many living creatures depend on it. Without the kinkajou's messy snack attack, the rainforest would have fewer trees. Thanks, kinkajou. Keep up your messy ways. I didn't really have to stop to think about keystone species because I read the next sentence. That means that many living creatures depend on it. So I didn't tell you what I was doing, but I used that look around the word strategy to figure out what keystone species means. All right, I'm going to zoom out so that you can see the side. Seeds in a sweet package. The kinkajou eats these fruits. Do you see the seeds? Maybe I will move me and zoom in a little bit more for you. There we go. Can you see the seeds in this one? What's it called, boys and girls? A fig. That's right. There's one we read, papaya. Those are the seeds. And this one is a passion fruit. And it has seeds right there. Here we go on the back side of this. I know lots of you boys and girls love this part, so I will zoom out so you can see the whole thing. And boys and girls, as you're reading, remember it's going to become so important for you as you get older and read those books without pictures to use your strategies for figuring out the meanings of words. So today we learned about context clues. Think, what's going on in the story? How is the word being used? What are some words or that I already know, or a phrase I already know, that I could put in place of the word and the sentence would still make sense? And then reread the sentence and make sure it makes sense. If you want to look at this chart and do the questions here, you can pause the video on this screen and feel free to check it out and answer the questions. And don't forget to check Freckle and see if your teacher has pushed out any assignments for you. All right, everybody, have a great day.